Welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing a deep dive into a really spooky piece of writing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's about an old mysterious house
Okay.
and the woman who moves in.
I love those kind of stories.
Me too. Get ready for some serious chills.
All right, I'm ready.
So what really gets me about this story is the way it takes something ordinary and adds this element of the supernatural. Like, we start off with the normal setting,
Yeah.
an old abandoned house
Okay.
on the outskirts of town.
Right on the edge of town.
Yeah, exactly.
Classic.
But there's this sense of mystery about it, like something more is going on.
Yeah, I get that.
And the writer does a phenomenal job describing the house, too.
Oh, yeah.
You practically see it,
Okay.
the weathered shingles, the
Yeah.
dusty windows.
Yeah,
It's like this forgotten relic of the past.
that's cool.
Yeah, and that's where Eleanor comes in.
Eleanor.
Yeah, she's a young writer looking for a quiet place to work on her novel.
So she's drawn to that isolation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she's especially interested in the house's mystery.
Makes sense for a writer.
Totally.
Hey.
She even says she believes old houses are full of stories just waiting to be told.
Ooh, that's a great line.
I know, right? And that fascination with the past becomes super important as the story goes on.
I bet.
During the day, the house is exactly what Eleanor expects.
Peaceful.
Yeah, quiet, empty,
Mm-hmm.
like stepping back in time.
I love that.
But at night,
Oh.
things change.
How so?
There's this growing sense of unease, like a creeping dread.
Ooh, spooky.
Right. It's not super obvious, but it's definitely there.
Okay, I see.
The writer does this amazing job of building suspense.
Yeah.
Like, on the first night, Eleanor hears footsteps coming from the attic.
Footsteps.
Yeah, but they're really faint at first.
Okay.
Easy to dismiss as the house settling,
Yeah, that makes sense, old house.
Exactly. But as the nights go on,
Oh.
the footsteps get clearer, more deliberate.
Oh, no.
Like someone or something is pacing right above her.
That's terrifying.
And that's when the real fear starts to set in.
For Eleanor.
For her and for us as
I
readers.
bet. So what does she do?
Well, here's where things get interesting.
Oh.
Instead of calling the police,
What?
Eleanor decides to investigate the attic herself.
Whoa, she's braver than me.
Seriously, I'd be out of there.
Right.
But her decision to investigate leads to the heart of the mystery.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
What she finds up there adds a whole new layer to the story.
All right, lay it on me.
So picture this. The attic is dark,
Okay.
cold,
Mm-hmm.
filled with shadows,
Creepy.
and that musty smell of forgotten things.
I can practically smell it.
Right, it's like this classic Gothic
I
setting.
love it.
There's all this stuff up there.
Like what?
Boxes of old possessions.
Yeah.
Old furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Even a broken mirror.
Broken mirror. Oh.
Yeah, and then there's this old trunk.
I wonder what's inside.
Well, she opens it.
Okay.
Inside, she finds a bunch of letters tied together with a faded ribbon.
Letters. Ooh, it's getting good.
They were written decades ago, and they tell the story of Margaret.
Margaret.
Yeah, she was the house's previous occupant.
Okay.
And her story is heartbreaking.
Oh, no.
The letters are all to her lover, a man who went off to war and never came back.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know, right? She writes about her grief, her despair, her belief that he'll somehow return.
Wow, that's intense.
It's really powerful stuff. And the last letter she wrote is especially chilling.
What does it say?
It was written in the middle of winter, and she says, "I will wait for you even if it takes forever."
Whoa, those are some heavy words.
Right. And those words take on a whole new meaning when you think about the footsteps and the growing feeling of a presence in the house.
It's like she never left.
It's almost like the writer is purposely blurring the line between reality and the supernatural.
I love how it keeps you guessing.
And just when the tension is at its peak,
What happened?
those footsteps come back.
Oh, no.
But this time they're right behind Eleanor,
No way.
in the attic as she's reading Margaret's final words.
That's terrifying.
The timing is perfect.
He gives me chills just thinking about it.
It really makes you think that Margaret's spirit might be trapped in the house.
Bound by that promise to wait forever.
Exactly.
So is it definitely a ghost?
Well, the story doesn't come right out and say it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like It's hinting at the possibility,
Okay, I see.
playing with our expectations and fears.
That's what makes it so creepy.
I know, right? It leaves us wondering, is this a real ghost or something else entirely?
Ooh, good question.
And that's something we'll explore more when we come back.
Okay, can't wait. But before we go,
Yeah?
what about you? What stood out to you so far in this deep dive?
That's a good question.
Anything grab your attention?
Well, I've got to say, what really fascinates me is how the writer uses setting and atmosphere to create that creeping dread.
Yeah.
It's all those subtle details like the opaque windows and the chilling description of the attic.
Yeah. Wow.
They all contribute to this feeling that something is just not right.
Definitely.
Oh, and then there's that broken mirror in the attic.
Oh, yeah.
Broken mirrors are creepy enough on their own.
You said it.
But in this context,
Uh-huh.
it feels like it could be so much more than just a random detail.
Like what?
Or it makes you wonder if it's symbolic, you know?
Okay.
Like maybe it represents a crack in reality itself.
Whoa.
A place where the line between the living and the dead is blurred.
Now that's a thought that'll stick with me.
I know, right? All right, we'll be back in a moment to dig deeper into this chilling tale.
Sounds good. I'm ready for more.
Don't go anywhere.
You know, it's funny how the story never really tells us if it's a ghost or something else.
It really does leave it up to us,
Right.
which makes it even creepier.
Yeah, same.
Like, it's making us think about what we believe about ghosts and stuff.
I think you're right. It's like the story saying, hey, what do you think?
Exactly. So on the one hand,
Yeah.
we've got this classic ghost story setup.
Okay.
We've got the heartbroken woman who dies promising to wait forever. And then years later, someone else moves into the house and starts experiencing all this weird stuff.
Right. Culminating in those footsteps right behind her.
Ugh. Yeah, it's hard not to see the connection.
For sure. Especially with the footsteps happening right after she reads those letters.
Right. But then the story also brings up the possibility of
Of what?
a psychological explanation.
Oh, interesting.
Like, remember, Eleanor is a writer.
Right.
She spends all day thinking up stories.
You. And she even says she loves old houses and their potential for ghosts.
So you're saying,
Well, I'm just thinking out loud here, but could she be projecting her own fears onto the house?
ooh, that's an interesting thought.
Right. I mean, she goes into this whole thing already believing that old houses are haunted.
Yeah. And then you add the isolation and the darkness.
Yeah.
Finding Margaret's story
It's like all these things could be feeding her imagination.
and making her even more scared.
Exactly.
That's a really good point.
Thanks. I do what I can.
So basically, the story is playing with us. It's not telling us for sure if there's a ghost or not.
Right, and I think it's using the setting and the characters to explore this idea that maybe what we think is supernatural is actually just our own minds messing with us.
You know what? That's actually...
It is, right. Like
Yeah.
the power of suggestion and how our minds can really affect what we experience.
Especially when we're in a place that's already kind of scary.
Exactly. And that whole ambiguity thing,
Yeah.
it's not just about Eleanor.
Yeah.
It's about us as readers, too.
Totally, like, we all bring our own baggage to the story, you know?
Yeah, like our own beliefs and experiences, all that shapes how we see things.
So if you believe in ghosts,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to see Margaret's ghost in the house.
But if you're more of a skeptic,
Yeah.
you might see it as Eleanor just freaking herself out.
And the story lets us think either way.
Exactly. It doesn't tell us what to believe.
It's like the story's saying, here's the evidence. What do you think?
I love that.
Me too. It's what makes it more than just your typical ghost story.
I totally agree. It makes you think critically, question what you believe, and really consider how the real and the imagined can get all mixed up.
And there's also all this other stuff going on too.
Like what?
Like beyond whether it's a ghost or not.
Yeah.
The story also explores these big themes like love and loss and grief.
And the power of the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though Margaret's story is only told through those letters,
Right.
it's still so powerful and moving.
It really is.
It reminds us that these human experiences are universal.
Mm-hmm.
Like love and loss can happen anywhere, anytime.
And they can leave their mark on the places where they happened.
Like in this story, The house itself becomes a symbol of those emotions.
Like a container for Margaret's grief and longing.
That's a good way to put it.
Thanks.
And the fact that Eleanor can't forget the house even after she leaves.
Yeah.
It kind of shows us that those experiences, whether real or imagined,
Yeah.
really had a big impact on her.
I see that.
This whole deep dive is making me think a lot about how the past can stick around.
Yeah.
How places can hold on to memories and feelings, even when we don't want them to.
It's spooky, isn't it? The way the story connects all these different things.
Totally. Like the mystery and the psychology and the human emotions.
Yeah.
And it all happens in this one creepy old house.
Brilliant.
Okay, before we move on,
Yeah.
I want to talk about those footsteps for a sec.
Okay.
We've been talking about them a lot, but what about some of the other details in the attic?
Oh, like what?
Like that rocking chair. It seems like a small thing,
Okay.
but it's described in this way that feels...
Feels how? Ominous.
Oh, I see what you mean. Even though it's just a chair,
Right.
it takes on this creepy feeling.
Like you can't help but imagine Margaret sitting there rocking.
Yeah. Lost in her grief, writing those letters.
And it never actually says she sat there.
It doesn't.
Nope. It's all in our heads.
Wow. That's even creepier.
Right. Our minds just fill in the blanks and it makes everything scarier.
That's so true. So the writer is using suggestion again. Yeah. Exactly. Just hinting at things and letting our imaginations run wild.
And making us wonder if the rocking chair is just a chair.
Or something more.
Ooh, I like that.
And that actually leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive.
So
We're going to take a closer look at some of those specific details.
okay.
Like the rocking chair, the broken mirror, and those creepy, opaque windows.
Sounds good to me.
There's a lot to unpack there. Be back in a jiffy to keep exploring. Okay, so we've talked about the themes and, like, is it a ghost or is it all in her head? But now I want to focus on some of the details in the story.
The details.
Yeah, the little things that really give me the creeps.
Okay, I like where this is going.
They add so much to the story.
Like what, for example?
Well, one of the first things that really stood out to me
Yeah.
was the description of the house.
Okay, the house itself.
Yeah, those opaque windows,
Yeah.
covered in dust.
Mm-hmm.
They're like blind eyes staring out.
Oh. Yeah, that's creepy. They're like the house is hiding something.
Exactly. Like it has secrets it doesn't want us to know.
It's a character in itself.
Yeah. And then there's the attic.
Ah, the attic classic.
It's like this symbol of the past.
Of all the things that are hidden away.
Right. And it's up there that Eleanor starts to feel Margaret's presence.
Like the attic itself is full of history.
Yeah. And it's all kind of weighing down on Eleanor.
I see that.
Remember those objects we talked about?
Yeah.
Like the rocking chair?
Mm-hmm.
It's never really connected to Margaret,
True.
but it still feels so eerie.
Yeah, like we can picture her sitting there,
Rocking back and forth, writing those letters.
lost in her sorrow.
And it never says she did that.
It doesn't.
Nope. Our minds just make that connection.
Wow, that's so cool how the story does that.
It's like it's playing with us, you know?
Yeah, using suggestion to make us feel uneasy.
And then there's the broken mirror.
Oh, yeah, the broken mirror, classic scary story stuff.
Mirrors are already kind of spooky,
Totally.
but a broken one,
Hmm.
it feels like a crack in reality.
Yeah, like a distorted view.
Like maybe that's how Margaret's spirit is going to break through.
I get that.
And remember those opaque windows?
Yeah.
They're like that too.
How so?
Like we can't see into the house clearly.
Right.
Just like we can't really understand what's happening to Eleanor.
It's like the writer is making us see things in this fuzzy way.
Yeah, like on purpose, you know?
I see it.
So we have to use our imaginations to figure things out.
It makes it so much more engaging.
I know. And I think that's what makes this story so brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
It mixes the psychological stuff with the supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
And it leaves us feeling unsettled and curious.
Totally.
Man, this deep dive has been amazing.
It has.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface of this story.
But we found so much cool stuff.
It's crazy how a simple story can be so deep.
It really is. That's the power of a good story.
It makes us think critically, you know,
Yeah.
and question things,
And think about the mysteries of life.
both real and imagined.
Exactly.
So as we wrap things up,
Yeah.
What's one thought you want to leave our listeners with?
Ooh, that's a good one. I guess I would ask them, what do you believe?
Yeah.
Was it a real haunting, or was it all in Eleanor's head?
Or maybe
Yeah.
somewhere in between.
The story doesn't give us the answers, but it makes us ask the questions.
It makes us think about what we believe and the possibility of things we can't explain,
And how stories can take us to different worlds.
even if those worlds are just in our imaginations.
Beautifully said.
All right, folks, I think it's time to step out of this haunted house of a story.
Back to reality.
But let's hold on to those chills we got.
Yeah, and all the insights.
Keep your windows open,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe keep an ear out for any footsteps in the attic.
Good advice.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. Today, we're headed to Carver's Hill. It's this small town where, some really strange things happen.
Yeah.
We're talking abandoned cars, cryptic notes. It's like a classic mystery just waiting to be solved.
It is.
And you, dear listener, you're going to be helping us figure out what happened.
It's really amazing how a place that's known for being so quiet can suddenly become like the center of a puzzle, you know? Like so unsettling.
It all started with a silver sedan left on Miller Road. It looked totally normal, but the owner vanished. All they left behind was this note, and it said, I left because I couldn't stay. Watch for the red lights. They'll guide you.
Okay, so that's officially creepy.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I mean, it's got to be some kind of code, right?
Yeah, like the writer speaking in some kind of code. Like, what are these red lights? Are they literal, or are they like warnings, signs?
It's like they're trying to, it's a curious. And it worked. People were totally baffled. And then a blue hatchback turns up by the bridge. And this note is even weirder. It says, don't follow the sounds you hear at night. The river remembers everything.
Chills.
No, right.
So the language here is really interesting to me. It's like they're saying the river is a person.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the past, right? Like maybe something happened there that the town doesn't want to talk about.
Yeah, you can feel the tension building. The whole town was just buzzing with rumors.
Yeah.
Everyone was trying to figure out what was going on. Then things get even stranger. When a rusted pickup truck shows up near the woods.
Okay, this is where things start to feel a little ominous.
Yeah. And this note, it's different. It felt more like a warning. It said, they are watching. We are all just waiting. Follow the lights, but not the shadows.
Whoa, okay, this isn't just a prank anymore.
Right.
This is serious.
Like the mystery writer's just messing with our heads. But then, nothing. The abandoned cars just stopped. Just as suddenly as they started.
You know that sudden stop? It's classic storytelling. It's like when a composer holds a note just to make the tension last longer. You almost want those cars to come back so we can at least get some answers.
I know, it's like what happens next. But luckily, Officer Lowry, the one who found all the notes, he wasn't ready to let it go. He arranged all the notes by date. And he noticed something. They formed a pattern, like some kind of map of the town.
Okay, so now is where you can use your own detective skills.
Oh.
Imagine you're looking at these notes. What would you do? Would you follow that map? Or would you just leave it alone?
Officer Lowry decided to follow the trail. He went to each location mentioned in the notes. The river, the bridge, the woods. He even said he felt this sense of dread at each stop, like someone was watching him.
That feeling of being watched, it's powerful stuff. It makes you question everything around you. Makes familiar places feel totally strange.
And the final stop on the map led Lowry to the creepiest place of all, the town cemetery.
A cemetery at night. Talk about a scary setting.
I know. As he got out of his car, he saw something glinting in the moonlight by an old gravestone. It was a key, attached to another note.
Now we're getting to the good stuff. A key in a cemetery at night. Come on. It's like something out of a movie.
And the note was even creepier. It said, for the one who found us, remember, some roads are meant to be forgotten.
It's interesting how the writer goes from I to us, right? Like, who are they? And what roads are they talking about? Are there real roads? Or maybe choices we make in life.
Yeah, it's like the mystery's getting deeper, making us think about more than just the clues.
Exactly. And that's what makes this case so interesting. It's not just about who did it, but why. It's like we're trying to understand what makes people do these strange things.
And here's where things take another turn. Lowry figured out that the key, it fit the lock. On the gate of an old abandoned house on the edge of town. This house has a really creepy history. People say it's haunted by the town's founders.
Oh, wow. So now I've got abandoned cars,
Oh, dear.
cemetery, and a haunted house. It's like the mystery is pulling us right into the heart of Carver's Hill.
I'm starting to see why you like this case so much. It's like peeling an onion. Every layer just reveals another layer.
Exactly. It all adds to the story. The mystery of a cars, the creepy feeling that something's wrong, and now this connection to the town's past and these mysterious founders.
So what do you think? Is there a connection between the cars and the house? Or is it all just a coincidence?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's easy to just connect the dots. Think the people who left the cars are connected to the house somehow. But what if it's more symbolic? What if the cars represent something the town's trying to forget? Like secrets they buried a long time ago.
And the house is like a reminder of those secrets. Like it's trying to tell us something.
Exactly. Remember that note. Some roads are meant to be forgotten.
Yeah.
What if those people left the cars to try and forget something? To erase a part of their past? And the house, with all its spooky stories, it's like a symbol that you can't really outrun your past.
It's like those ghost stories, where the ghosts can't move on because they have unfinished business.
Exactly. What if these people are trapped too? Haunted by something they did, trying to find some kind of peace. And maybe those red lights from the first note aren't real lights at all, but like a signal leading them to the house, to the source of their problems.
It's kind of scary to think about. Makes you wonder what Lowry felt when he stood in front of that house with the key. Was he scared? Or did he feel like he had to go inside?
It's hard to say for sure, but knowing Lowry, I bet it was a mix of both. He loved figuring things out, but he was also careful. He must have known it could be dangerous, but he couldn't resist the mystery.
So did he go in? What did he find?
Well, that's where the story ends. Lowry marked the case as unsolved and never told anyone what he saw inside, if he even went in at all.
He took those secrets to the grave. So I guess the mystery remains unsolved.
Not exactly. We have the clues, the notes, the locations, the house. We have everything we need to figure it out ourselves.
You're right. That's what makes this case so cool. It's like we're all part of the investigation, trying to put the pieces together and come up with our own answers.
It's like we're all standing in front of that house with the key in our hand, deciding whether or not to open that door and face what's inside. The choice is yours.
You know, it's amazing how this case, even without like a real ending, has just captivated people.
Yeah.
It's become like a legend in Carver's Hill, hasn't it?
It has. It really shows you the power of a good mystery. It's not just about finding the answer. It's about the journey, the not knowing, the questions that stick with you.
It reminds us that even in normal, everyday places, there are secrets hidden everywhere, just waiting to be found.
Right.
We started this deep dive thinking we'd be solving a puzzle. But I think what we've really found is a story about people, about how we're drawn to the unknown, how we try to make sense of things we don't understand, and the power that secrets hold.
It really makes you wonder what secrets are hidden in our own lives, in the places we think we know so well. What would we find if we started looking closer, paying attention to the little details, the things we usually ignore?
Maybe some mysteries are better left unsolved. But maybe the real treasure isn't the answer, but the search for it.
Right.
The journey that helps us understand ourselves and the world a little better. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the mystery of Carver's Hill, we leave you with this. What will you choose to explore today? What forgotten roads will you travel? And what secrets are you willing to unlock? All right. Ready to dive into something different today?
Always up for a new adventure. What you got?
Well, we're diving into a story about a mirror. But not just any mirror. This one, well, it reveals other versions of yourself. Crazy, right?
Oh, that's intriguing. I've always been fascinated by mirrors and the idea of reflections, like portals to another dimension almost.
Right. Like, what if they show us more than just our physical selves? What if they show us, I don't know, different paths we could have taken?
Ooh, getting goosebumps already? Tell me more.
So picture this. A misty little village, almost hidden away from the world.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And in this village, there's this old manor.
Okay, I love it.
The manor has this legendary mirror, and the villagers whisper about its strange powers.
Of course they do. There are always whispers about these kinds of things.
Exactly. And that's where we meet Leela. She's a young artist, looking for a quiet place to find some inspiration.
A classic setup.
Yeah, totally. And naturally, she's drawn to the manor,
Mm.
and especially that mysterious mirror.
Can't blame her, I'd be too. So what happens when she finally sees it? Is it like, bam, magic mirror time?
Not quite. It's more subtle, more creepy even, I think.
Oh, I like where this is going.
At first, she thinks it's a normal mirror, but then she notices something off about her reflection. It moves just a tiny bit slower than her.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
That's creepy. Like it's watching her, studying her.
Right, and that's just the beginning. It gets weirder. The reflection, it starts making expressions Leela isn't making, moving in ways she doesn't.
Whoa. So it's not just mimicking her anymore. It's like
Yeah.
it's becoming its own thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this all leads up to this one night, a super stormy night. Leela can't sleep, and she feels this pull, like something's drawing her back to the mirror.
Oh man, I bet I know where this is going. Classic horror movie trope.
You got it. She goes back to that room, and the mirror, her reflection is just standing there. Still, like it's been waiting for her.
Chills. Literally chills. So what does she do? Does she run?
Nope. And she actually whispers to it. She asks, "Who are you?" And her reflection answers. In Leela's voice, it says, "I am you, but I am not."
Okay, that's terrifying, but also kind of deep.
Right. It makes you think about, what our reflections really are. Are they just images or something more?
Right. Like, do they hold a part of us, our fears, our desires, maybe even our regrets?
Exactly. And the mirror then starts showing Layla these visions of her past regrets, paths she didn't take, choices she could have made.
Oh, wow. So it's like it's showing her all the what ifs that haunt us, all laid out right there in front of her.
Yes,
Yeah.
all those what if moments. And, everyone has them.
Oh, absolutely. I've got a million what ifs rattling around in my head.
Totally. Me too.
Yeah.
Like, what if I'd taken that job offer? Or what if I had?
I feel you. It's like the mirror is forcing her to confront not just who she is, but who she could have been.
Yeah.
Makes you think, right?
Yeah. Makes you wonder, how much do those what ifs really affect us?
Do they shape who we are?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they just possibilities that never came to be?
Such a good question. And I think this story really gets at that. But here's the twist. As dawn breaks, the reflection actually speaks to Leela again.
What does it say?
It tells her to embrace all that you are. And then, poof, it's just a normal mirror again.
Wow. That's surprisingly positive, I guess. I was expecting something a little more sinister.
Right, me too.
Yeah.
But I think it's the perfect ending. It's not about dwelling on regret, it's about accepting those other versions of ourselves.
Accepting all the paths we didn't take, all the choices we could have made, and realizing that all of that, it's all part of who we are.
Exactly. So Leela leaves the manor, but she's different now. It's like she's made peace with herself.
I think that's a really powerful message. We spend so much time focused on what might have been that we forget to appreciate who we are right now.
So true. So after hearing Leela's story, it really makes me wonder if we could see reflections of all the choices we didn't make, like a visual representation of our own what ifs.
Yeah.
Would we want to?
That's a tough one. I mean, part of me thinks it would be amazing, like to get a glimpse of all those other lives we could have lived.
Right. But then another part of me thinks it might be too much, too overwhelming.
Yeah, I can see that. What if it just made us more regretful, more dissatisfied with our actual lives?
Exactly. It's like, would we be paralyzed by the weight of all those possibilities?
Or would we, like Leela, come out the other side stronger, more self-aware?
Right. Maybe it would even help us to finally embrace all of who we are, flaws and all.
It definitely makes you think. I guess it all comes down to how we choose to view those reflections, right? Are they reminders of what we've missed, or are they opportunities for growth and self-acceptance?
Such a good point. And that's what Leela's story really makes us think about, right?
Yeah.
What would we see in that mirror, and how would it change us?
Well, listeners, it seems like we've stumbled upon quite the thought-provoking question today.
We have, and we're leaving that one for you to ponder.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.